Alrighty, welcome to the In My World podcast, a father and son podcast where we get all different types of interesting individuals in to talk about 3 mental health discoveries they had in the last 12 months. Jake, tell us about your 100K walk that you've just done recently. Why did you do it?
Because I'm slightly insane. It was no event or anything. Just I walked a marathon at the end of last year. Got a lot of good feedback from people. I've inspired a lot of people, so I thought, why not? I'm not going to do 75 because I know what I'm like. I'm just going to try and bump it up and do 100 the next time. So I'll just jump the gun and do 100.
And what was your body going through after 80Ks?
80Ks was all right. My hips were quite sore, but it was the last 10Ks that just absolutely crushed me. I don't think I've ever been in that much pain in my life.
So just backing up a bit, you're walking 100Ks in one go?
Yeah, I did it in 15 and a half hours.
So your average...
My average pace was, I think, just over 9 minutes a K.
Yeah, that's really impressive for a long way. So what did you like stop for stuff?
I stopped probably all up maybe like 5 times to just
eat and stuff.
Eat something, go to the toilet, do all that jazz. But
so why did you do the walk? Like, what was that about?
Just to push myself, do something that I know that no one else I know has done, and just, I've been walking for quite a while, so I just thought, let's just push it, see how far I can go. I knew I could do it, but also it was the mental part of it that I was a bit unsure about. I had a moment about 15Ks in where I was like, do I actually think I can do this?
Because in December last year, right, you did another large walk, and I remember seeing that you're talking about your mental health story on your Instagram story.
Yeah.
There was a lot of I guess, deep dives into what's been going on in your own personal mental health journey, and a lot of interaction from the people that follow you around what's going on for them. So it feels to me that this is more than just a walk. There's something deeper there. Can you kind of dive in a little bit about, what is the story behind getting involved and also raising money for 20 Talk?
Yeah, so I guess when I did the marathon at the end of last year, and I just thought at some random point in it, maybe like 25Ks in, I was like, I might just film myself, talk a little bit about my struggles, why I walk, what benefits I've found from that. And then after all the incredible feedback I got, or the inspirational messages I got from people, how I've, woken them up to something, or they've never thought about this. I kind of was thinking about it for a while, and then just continually got messages from people in person telling me how it was great and they couldn't believe I did that, and how they've started to walk, or they've started to do 10,000 steps a day, and how they're loving it. And then I was like, well, the next step is to do.
So what went through your mind when you posted on your Instagram story, and obviously going to be talking about stuff that's going on in your life? What did that experience feel like for you?
It was incredibly rewarding. I think as soon as I started talking, as both of you know, like as soon as you start talking about something like this, it just unravels, and you find it hard to stop. So I did actually have to get to a point where I was like, I got to put my phone away because my pace is dropping. But it just having these messages flood my watch and flood my phone as I was posting these videos was just so incredible. Just to know that you've, like, just me walking has made a difference
and that's got to keep you going. You can't stop then, can you?
Oh, exactly. And that was the reason, that was the main reason why I couldn't stop on the 100K. I was like, I can't let all these people down.
That's so good.
I don't know how 20 Talk has attracted all these crazy people doing all these walks. Someone was going to running around an island, or someone running from Karratha. Got you running around Perth.
That's so good. So in relation to obviously the 3 nuggets we had a little discussion before, and you mentioned that your 3 nuggets are being diagnosed, exercising anxiety, and talking about it is the third one. Interesting titles, I must say. Tell us about what the being diagnosed one means.
I've always had an inkling that I'd had ADHD and OCD, but it wasn't until the start of last year that it really started affecting my work and started affecting my personal life a bit. I went back to uni for the first time in 4 years last year, So I just couldn't sit still for 10 minutes at a time. I couldn't fixate on any task I was actually required to do, and it started really getting in the way. So got diagnosed start to mid of last year, and I still struggle with all of those things. Like got diagnosed with ADHD, ADD and OCD, and yeah, still struggle with all of those things. Like I'm on medication and stuff, but like it was just a bit of a wake up call in the sense of like a lot of people have these things, and a lot of people have different ways of getting through those things, and just trying not to let it stop me in my tracks.
Did you feel a sense of when you found out, when you were diagnosed, did that bring a sense of relief or like?
It definitely did.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like I'd kind of hit the top of that lump, and I was like
that's good.
starting to make my way down. But I mean, there's still so much stuff that comes with like I feel like often people think that ADHD and stuff like that, it's just like you've got a lot of energy all the time, you love to talk and all that stuff, which is true. But it's all the stuff that goes in the back of your mind. It's the just continuous overthinking of every little thing. Like even when I was coming here last night, I might have Google mapped how to get here like 3 or 4 times, even though I've been to Fremantle more times than I can count. But it's just like I've always got to be sure, I've always got to be certain. And yeah, the overthinking thing is probably the biggest thing I struggle with.
So in some ways you feel like a bit of a slave to it.
Yep.
Have you been able to harness it in any way for your benefit in relation to your capacity to think about a lot of different things at once? Have you got any? I
think the benefits of it is that I do always enjoy to be doing things. So I'm always, hence the walk and things like that. Like I love to push myself and I love to try new things. But the part where I kind of fall apart is I'm often picking up new things and then leaving things behind. So like just in mid-semester break, I picked up drawing. I made a bookshelf and had all these plans to make all these other things, and then I just pick up something else.
So you're creative.
Yeah.
You're super creative, and then you just got to learn to pull that back. Yeah, it's good.
Because you're definitely seeing now on Instagram all these advertisements and ads being pushed on people that they have ADHD, and we've heard a lot from young people self-diagnosing now. It's almost a bit of a trend.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that as well?
100%.
And how does that make you feel as someone who actually is diagnosed with ADHD when everyone's like, oh yeah, I've got ADHD?
I mean, that's the problem with these days, that like there's so many different I guess ends of the spectrum in terms of ADHD. Like I feel like everyone has a little bit of it, but like it does frustrate me in the sense that it's, like I said, it's everything that's actually happening in your head. Like on the outside, you're this happy-go-lucky, always energy, always go. Yet on the inside, I'm like, I've got 7 different things going on in my head. Like it's like I'm constantly watching something while listening something while I'm listening to you guys talk.
So
that's a lot.
So that's ADHD and ADD. I think for a lot of people in the audience, OCD is probably something that they haven't actually heard a lot about. Would you be able to walk us through what that looks like for you?
For me, OCD is I just have to make sure that I've got pretty much this checklist done for, I guess, these specific things. So when I've got work the next day, I've got to make sure I've got my bag out, my water filled up, everything in my bag ready to go. My breakfast made in the fridge for the next day. I've got the spoon out on the table because this all minimises time that I need to spend at home in the morning. And with my alarms, like a year ago, I was seeing a year or two ago, I was seeing a psych about my alarms because I was setting, I think it was like 15 alarms on my phone and 5 to 10 on my watch every night. I've since got...
What kind of alarms were you setting?
Just alarms to wake up, just because I was so paranoid about missing them, being late to something. And I mean, now I've got it down to, I think, like 5 on my phone and 2 on my watch. But there's just so many little things that if one thing's out of place or one thing, if like, you know, I haven't left the spoon out the night before, when I get up in the morning to go to the table, I'll be like, how did I forget that? Like have that immediate, like, I can't believe I forgot to do that.
You've explained that really well. That where some people will say, you know, they might make, I have to get, 1 or 2 things before I can go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they think, I've got OCD. But it's like, no.
Yeah.
OCD is something very serious. And what you've described is it's really good how you've described it.
Problem with it for me is that it, in a sense, these 2 examples control my life. Like if I have work the following day and I forget to set an alarm, I doubt I will go to sleep. And I mean, look, I'll probably wake up at the same time, but I'm not one to risk that.
It just causes you unnecessary anxiety.
Yeah. So where you're sitting now, do you feel like you've kind of got a control over all of these diagnoses, or do you feel like it controls you right now?
I think I've got a control over, say, 75% of them. The alarms and the other things I'm not letting slide, but they don't have as much of an impact on my mental health at the moment. Like the fact that I've minimized the amount of alarms. Because before, when I was setting alarms, I don't know, like that's got to be like 5 to 10 minutes of my night just setting alarms, and then 5 to 10 in the morning turning them off. But I think it's I think they're kind of being put under wraps, and I'm just kind of minimizing the amount I do it.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, that's great. So that brings us to our second discovery, everyone. We have exercising anxiety, and this kind of touches base, I guess, on what we spoke about at the start, your 100-kilometer run. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly touch base on, I guess, where all that started. About 3 or so years ago, 20 Talk had a Instagram filter where you were getting people to talk about their feelings and stuff. And I thought I'd just bite the bullet, do it one day after work. I did it, got some great messages from people, was just overwhelmed.
I'm glad someone used it.
Yeah, mate.
That took a long time to make.
But yeah, and it just got overwhelming responses from people. After that, went saw a psych, started getting my anxiety under wraps and stuff like that. But it was just the overthinking thing for me. I just couldn't stop thinking about things. Like overthinking things to the point where I'd actually just make myself feel sick with anxiety. And so I noticed that throughout the entire day, I would be just constantly thinking about what I'm doing next. So then I realized that before I go to work, I'll go for like a 10 to 20 minute walk, listen to music or a podcast. And I noticed pretty much immediately that time was one time of my day where I didn't have a thought. I was just thinking about whatever it was I was listening to or paying attention to.
Yeah, that's good.
And then that kind of just escalated to me walking 100 Ks, which is crazy. But I think so now I'm doing 7 Ks to work every day. So it's like an hour where I'm listening to stuff or, catching up on things. And for the past 3 years, that's been the one time of my day where I haven't had those thoughts and haven't been focusing so much on the near or further future.
That's so good. Like even just that message about walking like so much is so awesome.
It's not really promoted, is it?
No,
walking.
I'm thinking that
especially for men. It's not promoted to men to go for a hot boy walk on the coast. I mean,
no, exactly. And I mean, I'm just walking around the streets of Doubleview.
Well, you don't have your shirt off on Trig Beach?
No, mate.
I'm disappointed.
Mate, it's 4 a.m. around Doubleview.
But it's so, like on Sunday, if you go on the coast, it is just chock-a-block with people walking.
Yeah.
Chockers. But I think it's really good just to be free from, I mean, I know I can spend a bit of time on YouTube just, to get that same feeling of not thinking about anything, but I know that it's not doing me any good. But the idea of just walking it out.
100%.
Yeah, I like that.
I think because I do the same thing with YouTube. You use it as a bit of, to escape. But I think the problem with YouTube is that it's, let's say you watch YouTube for half an hour. As soon as you shut that laptop or turn the TV off, you're like, Whereas if you go for a half an hour
Yeah.
walk, when you get home, you're like,
All the
I felt pretty
endorphins
good.
and
I
that's
think
so
the
good.
good thing about walking is it's not scary when you leave your house. You're
No.
not putting on your running shoes and it's going to be painful. It's
Yeah.
it's a
Exactly.
kind of enjoyable experience, and you still get that benefit as well.
I'm sure though he can walk 7.5 minutes per K, which would be painful. That's
the
fast.
Do you have a power walking kind of pose that you
Yeah, I
do?
do. Heel toe, baby. No, it's but I'm also 29 this year. I've had 2 knee recons. I've broken more bones than I know, all through skating and stuff. And I can't really be doing that stuff anymore because, well, it's not worth the risk. And like for uni, for prac, for all of that stuff, I need to make an income. So that's why I've kind of resorted to walking, and I still thoroughly enjoy it 3 years on.
Yeah.
And it's just that one time a day.
So I mean, I'm a person listening right now. I'm laying in my bed, and I'm interested in walking. What would be your message to someone who's a potential walker in the midst?
Just go for 10 minutes. You don't need to focus on pace or distance or anything like that. Just focus on, say, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm just going to go for a 10-minute walk. Start off like that. I mean, I have a very addictive personality. So once I hit the 10-minute mark, I'm going to be like, all right, next time I'm doing 20. But you don't need to be like that. You can just set aside 10 minutes a day.
So you have headphones on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and that's the thing. I only really walk with headphones on, but that's what works for me. I've heard of a lot of people who don't like walking with headphones on, which is completely fine. It's just whatever works for you.
Yeah.
And it is so simple. It doesn't break the bank. It doesn't break your back.
Yeah.
Like you just,
Yeah, that's good.
you can do it bare feet in just your undies.
Are you sponsored by Big Walk?
I wish.
Well, you can do it when your undies are around double view. I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, only at 4 a.m.
I might go a different way now into the city.
Do it.
So your third one, talking about it. So tell us about what that means for you.
I mean, that comes back to me just being vocal with how I've been feeling and stuff. Ever since I was first diagnosed, ever since I was first posted that 20 Talk thing on Instagram a couple of years ago, I just realized immediately how much of an impact talking to people made. You know, at first it was more my family and my close friends and people like that. But since then, especially after the marathon, it is honestly absurd. I still think about it every day. Like how many people have messaged me. I've had people who I might have spoken to once in passing and they've messaged me saying, hey man, I loved all your videos you posted on your marathon. Just so you know, I've started to walk 10K, 10,000 steps a day, making me feel really good. Or I've been looking for something to try and escape what I've been currently feeling. And it's quite funny. When I was walking, during the marathon, I had like 6 people walk with me throughout that time. All of them pretty much did minimum 10Ks with me. And one of the people that walked with me was my mum. And she made she just brought up quite a funny thing that I'd never thought about before, which was when you're driving in a car or when you say, to a mate, let's go and catch up for a drink or whatever, and you go and sit across from them, it can be incredibly confronting to actually talk about how you're actually feeling when you're sitting face to face to someone.
Yeah.
Because you can see their raw emotions, and it's just harder to do that while looking into someone's eye. Whereas when you're walking alongside them, you've got that presence next to you. You've got their companionship next to you, but it's not as confronting because you're just looking forward, but their voice is right there. And every single person I walked with on that walk, I had one of the deepest conversations with that person I've ever had. A lot of these people have been friends of mine for 10 plus years. Some of them too.
That's interesting. So you're saying that you can really have that intimate conversation without the eye contact. Is that specifically something you've noticed with guys, or is it both?
Everyone.
Okay.
I think I've had the most personal and confronting conversations with my mum, my sisters, and all of my mates, and actually my partner as well. We have the best conversations when we're walking somewhere. because you can really just like, what else are you going to do? Your phone's in your pocket, and you're just walking.
I think one of my friends actually was in a really big, what's that big festival in America where they do it on the sand flats?
That flooded last year. Oh yeah,
Burning Man.
Burning Man. Yeah,
Is
Burning
it?
Man.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
my friend was at Burning Man last year, and he got talking to this guy who I think he turns out to be one of these really big interviewers in the world. Like he's a journalist, and he was telling my friend Tom that the best interviews he ever has with people is when they're doing something that they love. So whether they're tinkering on a car, that was my friend who was working on a car, going for a walk or playing golf, when they're in that moment, they kind of tap into this, I guess, almost primal state where they're really focused. And that's when you really get to know who they are and what they do, because there's no front, there's no fear. They're in that real sense of control. So when you're talking about walking and tapping into this real vulnerable side, that kind of resonated with me, which is, I guess, you're in this mode of focus and you can really be who you want to be. I think especially for guys, staring at each other's faces and opening up can be quite difficult. And I always find, just even if you want to go to the pub with your mate, if you're sitting side by side, the chats you have are way more vulnerable and exposing.
No, definitely. I completely agree. It's like if I was to pull out my phone at home and try and record the same message, it wouldn't work. I'd re-record that so many times. But when I'm walking, it's a one-take wonder. Like on the 100K, I was walking, I was with a mate, and I was making a little update on my phone, and I just did some horrible math, and it was completely wrong. And I just posted it, and because I was like, I don't care. It's, this is about more than math. This is about the message behind it all.
I think that's really interesting. I mean, not even just about mental health, but just about having good conversations with people about the importance of, how you do that these days.
Speaking of conversations, Steve, you just wrote a course on how to have a difficult conversation. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've been actually getting a lot of people talk to me about lacking confidence in having difficult conversations, whether it's with customers or staff or colleagues at work. And so that's something that I've been really working on, this difficult conversation.
So how could you, I guess, use that in relation to mental health?
Well, I think, for example, if you had a major issue with someone, a family member or one of your children or something like that, I was told by a friend of mine who has a PhD in psychology, he's a child adolescent psychologist. He said that when you're talking with young adults, it's best not to have eye contact. Do an activity where you're walking or driving in the car or something like that. So if you want to chat with one of your kids or a sibling or a friend or something, and it's going to be a difficult conversation, then you can actually probably do that while you're walking along. If you have your idea, you want to be clear about what it is that it's come to your attention and hear what they have to say and just shut up.
That's actually so interesting.
And just shut up, listen to what they have to say, and then come up with a mutually beneficial situation. But there's a lot more to my course than what I've just said. Obviously, mine's informed by my military experience and having worst case scenario planning and psychological safety. But this whole issue, having deep conversations with people, there's a bit of hunger out there, I think, for it.
I think a lot of young people and people in general are losing, I guess, the skills to have those difficult conversations. Because we're so tied up behind our phones now, we're not having these interactions, we're not having these difficult conversations. I mean, just last week, I think my phone screen time was about 5.5 hours. And I'm not proud of that, but I've been going through a bit of a difficult time, and I just noticed spending more time. I in the darkness, I just spend more and more time on the phone. And when I'm away from people, I'm losing that skill. I'm losing, I guess, breaking down those barriers with people. So, it is interesting.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I like it. You should write a book.
Well, I've got 3 chapters ready to go.
We've got something here for you. if you just want to get that paper in front of you, and we've got a mystery question. Mystery question. All right, do you want to open it up?
What thought keeps you awake at night on a regular basis? This would be what I'm doing the next day, and I'm talking planning it to a T.
Yeah.
Every single part about it. That was actually one of the other things that probably the one time a day where I do a lot of my thinking, unfortunately. To combat this, I've actually bought a little sleep speaker that goes underneath my pillow, just Bluetooth to my phone, and I just play. I've actually got a
brown noise.
I've actually got an ADHD Spotify playlist, which just has like, you know, rain sounds, a bit of instrumental music, and it has helped. Oh,
that's so good.
Can't even talk about how much it's
wow, that's
helped.
awesome.
It's and just falling asleep to that at night is just unreal. And because I would lay awake at night thinking about planning exactly what I was doing, how many things I had to do, trying to write a mental checklist of everything, and just going back over and over and over it again. And that's why I was like, you know what, one night I was just like, I'm just going to try this. Bought the speaker, best thing I've ever bought.
I think that's you've come up with some really good ideas.
Yeah, it's quite unique.
You've got a really good handle on managing things and being proactive and
experimenting with
things as well. I think that's really creative, and thanks for actually sharing that.
I'll give you one more. It's a bloody perler.
Yeah.
I bought my girlfriend a mini trampoline as a joke about 3-4 months ago. And
I'm listening.
It has since just lived in the living room. I probably jump on it like maybe once or twice a day, because the best part about a mini trampoline in your house is that you can't be sad when you're jumping on it. I've tried so many times. Could you imagine someone crying on a trampoline?
Mental health solved.
There you go. Well, thank you, Jake. Thank you so much for coming in. You're such a refreshing guy, and I really look forward to seeing how you're going to continue to inspire people. And mate, you've inspired me. I can tell that you've inspired Leighton.
For sure.
And thank you, mate. So before you go, I will get you to write a mystery question after for the next guest. But
of course.
Thanks for coming in.
No, thank you guys. Absolute pleasure.
All right. Thank you.